It is absolutely impossible to gain enough muscle naturally to create any sort of health problems or do anything but actually improve your health. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you're not following or subscribed, please do so. And if you'll be kind enough to drop me a comment down below, I would appreciate that also. Thank you so very, very much. Let's get over to the topic. All right, lots of people worry about this. They're like, look, there are certain people, certain bodybuilders or other people who've had health problems or whatever. They'll bring this up and it's like, look, guys, what you need to understand is they're all using very significant amounts of PEDs. And when I say that, I really do mean that. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that as far as our topics for health concerns, it is impossible to gain enough muscle to be a health concern from the muscle you have for even very modest amounts of anabolic use, right? The guys who use very, very small amounts, they still can't gain enough muscle to be a concern. So I will actually stand by that statement. And I'm not saying they might not get side effects that could be problematic for their health. But what I'm saying is they won't gain enough muscle. You got to be pretty big for this to be a concern. And the reason I say that, and we'll even get over to sports in a minute, that actually most of your top elite athletes who perform super fast, explosive, actually have a fair amount of muscle and they all lift weights, right? Most of your top sprinters squat 500-600 pounds, right? You even saw Conor McGregor squatting 405, squatting 400 pounds and stuff leading into some of his fights. So don't give me this, oh, I'll get slow. No, just stop. Right? Then why do the highest level sprinters do 600-pound squats? It's not making them slow. It's getting them to the Olympics is what it's doing. All right, so let's talk about this. This is not a concern, and I think people don't understand you can't get that big natural. Okay, and I think they don't understand also that when you do see someone who's reasonably big natural, and you're like, oh man, he's pretty big. He's probably put in 10, 15 years. The same even with women. Like these are not people who are coming in and for the women who are just doing squats with one plate aside. Okay, they're just not. The same with guys. They're not doing sets of 10 with 225 on the back squat. All right, they're usually pretty dang strong. So when we say that it's not a concern, we'll look at the research. Okay, we know that strength training beats cardio for heart health by a small margin. Now, when I say that, people don't need to jump up and go, Blaha's being anti-cardio. No, I'm pro-cardio. I do cardio. I do cardio pretty much every day. Okay, so don't throw that at me, because cardio has separate health benefits from lifting, particularly for your heart and stuff. But if you only did one, the research is showing strength training wins out. Muscle mass is cardioprotective. Now people say, but what if your body weight's too high? Well, that's because you're fat. Again, realistically, do you guys really think an average height man is going to be over 200 pounds lean, really lean, drug-free? No. It's not going to happen. He's going to be 180 pounds, right? He's going to be 185. 190 is kind of pushing it, right? He's going to have to work really, 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 really hard for a lot of years to reach 190 real lean. So no, they're overweight because they're fat, not from the muscle. Okay, so the heart health. The other stuff, look at all the other benefits. And then we'll go into sarcopenia and aging, diabetes. Right, lifting weights alone reduces diabetes risk by 70%. Any weightlifting, like twice a week. But the more muscle you have, the more cardioprotective it is against insulin resistance, like all insulin resistance. Like literally lifting weights and not being fat, you will not be insulin resistant. Like if you train really hard, you gain significant amounts of muscle for several years, and you don't use any drugs that cause insulin resistance, and you're not fat, your diet is still not going to make you insulin resistant. It is extremely unlikely. You would have to do a very extreme diet, right? Like a deep keto diet with tons of saturated fat. Those people get insulin resistant, but look, they're eating the foods that cause the insulin resistance, right? At extreme rates. They're still managing to pull it off, but for everyone else, not really, not happening. Lifting weights improves insulin sensitivity dramatically. So therefore that goes down. The same with cancer. Every pound of muscle that you put on your body is another small layer of protection against cancer, against diabetes, against any sort of metabolic disease that is insulin related or glucose related. And cancer is. Like, again, we know this from the data, right? So being insulin sensitive is an extremely high protection. It will give you the most insulin sensitivity muscle mass, particularly trained muscle mass that you're using regularly, okay? So if you got a significant, as much muscle as you could put on your frame from just lifting weights and eating well and eating protein, and you're then active on top of it, it is insanely cardioprotective, insanely protective against cancer, okay? Now you had a really healthy diet on top of it, you're doing really well. Okay, you cannot hurt your health. All these things are going to improve. So even if you were concerned with whatever other health issue you might think it's going to arise, look at the big ones. Look at heart disease. Look at diabetes. Look at cancer. That is what kills 90% of Americans. By the way, like 90% of our deaths, those three things combined together. Okay, that's 90%. Heart disease, cancer, heart disease and stroke, cancer, diabetes. Those are the killers. Everything else added together, everything, medical malpractice, murder, everything, drug abuse, it's like 10%. Okay? 10%, guys, accidents. It's protective. Then you get into aging. You're not going to keep all your muscle. People are like, well, you're sticking with someone still jacked at 85. They're walking around 190. Well, they're not doing that without drugs. You're going to start losing muscle. And the more that you had, I'm not saying older people can't gain some, they can if they start late, which will help them. But all that muscle is going to be protective against sarcopenia. It's going to give you bone density. It's going to help you be protected against hip fractures. It's going to keep your spine straighter. Okay? You're going to have a straighter spine. You're not going to have that big rounding spine and the hunched back that old people get if you're doing big structural lifts and gain muscle. It's going to be protective against all those things. And the hip fracture is the biggest one. This is why I say the big load-bearing exercises. When you're over 60, if you break a hip, you fall and break a hip, 19 out of 20 people who do this are dead in less than 3 years. 3 years. 19 out of 20, 95% of people who get a hip fracture past age 60 are dead in 3 years or less. It is lethal. It is absolutely deadly. It is a death sentence. All right, lifting weights helps prevent that. Getting as strong as you can, as big as you can before that will help keep it later into life. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.